Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy. Today is Saturday, January 24th of 2026, and we're celebrating the memorial of St. Francis de Sales, Bishop and Doctor of the Church. However, we'll take the Gospel reading from the Gospel of the Day, which is Saturday of the second week in Ordinary Time. It is very brief, and it comes to us from Mark's Gospel, chapter 3, verses 20 and 21. Jesus came with his disciples into the house. Again the crowd gathered, making it impossible for them even to eat. When his relatives heard of this, they set out to seize him, for they said, "He is out of his mind." Today's gospel is very, very short. In fact, it's a whole 2 lines, Mark 3, 20-21. But what strikes us is this very angry reaction of the members of Jesus' family. They think he's crazy. Now, we might ask ourselves, well, why do they react this way? Well, St. Bede says, since they could not take in the depth of wisdom which they heard, they thought that he was speaking in a senseless way. In other words, they didn't get the depths of the wisdom that Christ was imparting. They didn't understand the intelligence, the knowledge that he showed, and so their only response was to think that he was mentally ill. We can say that this sort of irony, the fact that something that is the embodiment of wisdom could be so horribly mistaken, is sort of the irony of the Christian life. For instance, St. Agnes, who defied worldly wisdom in order to follow Christ. In a famous homily by St. Ambrose, the great doctor of the Church, he recounts the irony of the martyrdom of one so young. And I say irony because he points out so many different things, so many different aspects that are just surprising to us. They fly in the face of worldly wisdom. He writes, "There was little or no room in that small body for a wound. Although she could scarcely receive the blow, she could rise superior to it." In other words, she's so tiny that where could they even wound her? And yet, she could rise above such a wound. Girls of her age cannot bear even their parents' frowns, and pricked by a needle, weep as for a serious wound. They're sensitive. Yet Agnes shows no fear of the blood-stained hands of her executioners. She stands undaunted by heavy clanking chains. She offers her whole body to be put to the sword by fierce soldiers. She is too young to know of death, yet is ready to face it. Dragged against her will to the altars, she stretches out her hands to the Lord in the midst of the flames, making the triumphant sign of Christ, the victor on the altars of sacrilege. She puts her neck and hands in iron chains, but no chain can hold fast her limbs. In other words, she's so tiny, she willingly sticks her hands into the chains, into the handcuffs, but they're too big for her. In the midst of tears, Agnes sheds no tears herself. The crowds marvel at her recklessness in throwing away her life untasted, as if she had already lived life to the full. All are amazed that one not yet of legal age can give her testimony to God. So she succeeds in convincing others of her testimony about God, though her testimony in human affairs could not yet be accepted. So she's so young that she couldn't bear witness in court. She couldn't be a witness. And yet, she's able to bear witness to God. These ironies. Everyone else is crying, and she's at peace. Everyone else tries to make her promises to get her to renounce her faith, to get married, to have a happy life, and she says no. It's the embodiment of Christian wisdom, although the world sees it as foolishness, craziness. Now, on Saturday, we also celebrate the Blessed Virgin Mary. Now, we might ask ourselves about one of the titles that she gets in the Litany of Loreto, all the names of Marian devotions. She's called Seat of Wisdom. That's exactly what we're talking about here, this heavenly wisdom that far surpasses the wisdom of the world, so much so that those who are wise in the ways of the world can't grasp the wisdom of heaven. Well, St. John Henry Newman explains it this way. He says, Mary has this title, Seat of Wisdom, in her litany, because the Son of God, who is also called in Scripture the Word and Wisdom of God, once dwelt in her, meaning in her womb, and then after his birth was carried in her arms and seated in her lap for his first years. Thus being, as it were, the human throne of him who reigns in heaven, she is called the seat of wisdom. She is the seat of wisdom because Jesus literally sat in her lap, and he is wisdom incarnate. So today, then, let's ask, through the intercession of Mary, seat of wisdom, for the grace to live out that heavenly wisdom, to ignore the threats and ignorance of the world, and instead cling to she who brought us wisdom from above.
If you found this video fruitful, please feel free to share it with a friend, a family member, or if you would like to learn more about our missionary priests throughout the world and how to support them, please visit IVE.org. Thank you for watching, and God bless.